to Finland. I'm in northern Finland, in Lapland, a place called Kiilopää. Behind me is the Fell Centre and the start of the trails and the entrance to the national park. I flew up here from Kraków in Poland yesterday, transferred in Helsinki and then into Ivalo, which it's in the Arctic Circle and it's as far north as I've ever been. So pretty exciting stuff. It was dark when I got here, so I pitched up behind the Fell Centre and paid them this morning. Had a fantastic breakfast, and now I'm setting out for 5 days of walking and wild camping. And I'm in Lapland, so most of the rucksack's full of clothes. Although I'm still stressing I've not got enough. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. What a place. That was Luirojärvi day trip hut. So I think the idea is it's just far enough into the wilderness to be to make it worthwhile for people to hike or ride, or there's just been a group of runners come past as well. But absolute heaven on earth. The coffee was great, the cinnamon roll was great. Yeah, and a fire that I imagine hasn't been out for about 100 years. And around the fire were kind of pegs that you can hang up your wet gear if you're there and needing shelter. So yeah, just awesome. And I'll shortly be off the waymark trail and onto the more wild stuff where I'm going to need to navigate a bit more. But for the time being, I'm following the yellow trail through the squelchy bits and heading for Rautalampi, which is the next spot, as shown on the sign back there. So I'm about a kilometre away from Rautalampi, which is lunch stop, coming up on 2 o'clock, so just about ideal. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, just look around. It's pretty wild and silent. It is definitely the quietest place I've ever been. Zero wind, which means it's just silent, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Believe it or not, this is the wilderness hut. So these places are free to stay in. I guess this one's fairly new. They actually have free areas and paid areas. This is what the free accommodation looks like. That stove is on, absolutely baking. It's scorching in here. Pegs around the top there to hang out dry clothing, or clothing to dry. And yeah, as many people as you can fit into those bunks. Gas stove and pots. And as I say, incredibly, this is all for free. So, welcome to Kotaköngäs. That is the laavu, the sleeping shelter. We've got a wood store in here, pretty well stocked by the looks of it. There's an axe in there as well for splitting. Toilet back there. And apparently you can camp anywhere in the vicinity, I think it says, something like that. I can see there's a tent across there. So yeah, I'll find a flat spot and get set up. So I better look at the laavu shelter at Kotaköngäs. So the idea is you crawl in there, sleeping mat and sleeping bag, and are kept warm by the fire. Unfortunately there's a few too many midges and mosquitoes tonight, I think, so I'll stick with the tent. The other thing that all of these shelters have is a logbook, and you're asked to write who you are and where you're going tomorrow, just in case you need to be searched for, so where you're heading to after you've been here, sort of thing. Yeah, I was just looking at that fire as well. How many years of ash do you think it takes to stack a fire up that tall? Just doing a good job drying my socks at the moment. So when I was deciding what gear to bring, I thought to suit the kind of extreme of weather that I might see, I'd bring the X-Mid, because I know what it does and can kind of trust it, if you know what I mean. Unfortunately, because of this ground is just so rocky, you can't get pegs in at all. And so over there is a really shonky pitch. There's a dog eating. So I was telling you about why I brought the X-Mid, and I was about to make excuses for it being such a shonky pitch because of the amount of rock that's under the ground, when I saw the dog eating my stuff. So there's a dog wandering around this campsite that isn't owned by anybody that's staying here, and just seems to be loose. It's got a big GPS collar on it, so I've got a feeling it might spend a lot of time wandering about. But yeah, it's eaten a bag of crisps and a packet of beef jerky. So all my salty snacks for the next couple of nights have disappeared, which is pretty bad news. But there you go. It's probably doing me some good. Morning. Pretty good night overall. That dog that was around that I talked about last night, about 10 o'clock last night, suddenly started barking, went absolutely mad, and then barked non-stop through till 5 AM. So I kept waking up and hearing it, barking and barking and barking. It must have been exhausting, but yeah, something had upset it, that's for sure. Quick word on trail mix. I swear by trail mix. Obviously make it myself from all the nuts and fruits and things that I like. So there are dried banana flakes, some dried blueberries, pistachio nuts, and these guys that I really like, I can't remember what they're called at the moment. Chili nuts in there as well, just a sprinkling of those, and a little box of those tiny Smarties. Just have a big bag of that and a handful every 5k or so. It's beautiful, just keeps me going. Well, this is a nice surprise. This little spot called Padagova, which is a fireplace, and camping is allowed here as well, looking at the sign. Yeah, I hadn't seen this one, it's not marked on the map, but it's just up from the river there, which is called the Palavanganjoki, which is the valley I'm going to be following for the next few kilometres. So the first 3 kilometres today have all been in this boreal forest, following a small trail like this. The ground's covered in mosses and blueberries and these monster mushrooms like this. I wish I could identify if they were edible or not, but yeah, don't know anything about mushrooms. Yeah, and the rest of it's just these pine trees, which are all, I'm sure they're all ancient, but they just don't grow too high because of the you know, the conditions around here. It's quite nice whenever you stop. There are all Siberian tits or willow tits in the tops of the trees, picking away at the pine cones. And so if you stand still, you get bombarded by these things falling from the trees. And it's literally the only sound in the forest, is, apart from the river, is the sound of these pine cones falling around you. Just to talk about shoes for a minute, as I'm sure you've noticed, I'm using trail runners, which some people might frown at. There's obviously an ongoing debate about runners versus boots. All I would say about these is it's not super cold. You know, if it was below freezing, I'd probably be wearing boots. Well, I would be wearing boots, no two ways about it. The tread on these is great, as good as pretty much any boot I've ever used. They're super grippy. They're comfortable. Yes, they get wet instantly, but they also dry pretty quickly. So by the time I've eaten my noodles and had a coffee, these will be well on the way to being dry. Having watched the girls at the campsite last night putting the boots around the fire, trying to get them a little bit drier than they were, these make a bit of sense. I suppose the only other concern is ankle support. People will tell you that you should be wearing boots for that. I think if you walk a lot or run or generally have decent ankle strength and you're using poles for that added stability, I don't think it's a massive issue. Maybe I'll break my ankle in the next kilometre, but I'd recommend trail runners. I haven't seen anybody else using trail runners on this trail yet though. It's definitely not, or doesn't appear to be, the Finnish way of doing things. One other thing while we're on the subject of feet is my luxury item. So Ray Mears always says that the luxury item is the thing he left behind, meaning that he's not going to carry the weight and therefore it's a luxury. For me, it's Johnson's baby powder. So every time you pour it all over your food, when you've just done a river crossing, you dry off your feet and give them a quick rub of this stuff, and it just feels like heaven. Another piece of gear chat for those people that enjoy that sort of stuff. You might have noticed wearing 2 watches. This is a Garmin Fenix 7X Solar. Main thing about it is it's got maps on it. I use maps by Talkie Toaster, where he uses OpenStreet map information and creates fantastic hiking maps. The reason I wear another watch is I can leave this on maps all day and just glance at the map whenever I need to, and glance at this one to tell the time. It also means I can turn this off when I get to camp and make sure that I've got plenty of battery for the whole trip. This is a Timex Expedition North. It's a mechanical watch, which means it's charged by my movement. So all this walking today means that the movement in the back there, spinning around and charging it up, or charging it, it's driving the mechanism. It's also got really good loom on it, so really easy to see in the tent at night. And yeah, it's a nice watch to look at, if you know what I mean, which makes me happy. So yeah, 2 watches, that's the reason for that. So it's 6 PM and I'm all set up and ready for the evening. Cooking kit's here. This is going to be the kitchen for tonight. Rucksack, drying line over there. I might go and give those socks a rinse because they've done well for the last couple of days. Nice flat pitch tonight, which is good news. I've left the tent nice and high because the weather's going to be fine today, and just to keep condensation down. Inside, all ready to go. We've got merino top and long johns over there and some nice woolen socks. This is a Nemo Disco 30, so a sleeping bag that's good for 1 degree C, and under it is a Thermarest Neo Light, whatever it's called. Again, good for cold weather, so shouldn't be any issues with temperature tonight. So dinner tonight is reindeer stew, which I feel a little bit guilty about, given that I saw them on the first day. But I don't know if you can see that. It's pretty good. I think it's probably the best of these freeze-dried meals I've ever had. Tortilla to go with it, and some kabanoski. For pudding, we've got a cup of tea and a Cliff Bar, and obviously the Yorkshire tea, being the treasure that it is stored in a little bulletproof box to make sure nothing untoward happens to it. So good morning. Quick look round at camp. Here's food for the day. And because I knew it was kind of a slower day, there's extra today to look forward to. So homemade porridge mix. We've got chicken tikka masala and one of those wraps, I think, for lunch. Dinner tonight's pasta carbonara and raspberry crumble. Of course there's a Cliff Bar and an extra treat, Kit Kat Chunky, for tonight. It was a cold night. It was freezing. I know the temperature because this little thing on the back of the rucksack here is a Bluetooth sender. It's a data logger for temperature, and humidity. So that takes a reading every 10 minutes, I think it is, and sends it through to the phone, and you can see it graphed. And yeah, 0 degrees exactly last night. Airing the clothes that I slept in and the sleeping bags up there. Super peaceful today, absolutely quiet. Fantastically, on the lake last night there was a diver. I think it's a black-throated diver. Any Hollywood film where they're trying to tell you that you're in the wilderness, they play this sound, which is the sound of a loon, which is what it's called in America, or a black-throated diver, as it is in Europe. And I'll play you that song. I've just left Luirojärvi, which doesn't get any easier to say, and I'm heading out for a day trip, a hike up Sokosti, which is the highest peak in eastern Lapland, 750 odd metres I think, but apparently has amazing views of the area and across even to Russia. It was recommended to me by the lady I sat next to on the aircraft coming into Ivalo, who was a local, worked in the Ivalo library. Hello if you're watching. And she said that Sokosti was worth a visit. So I've left all the stuff at camp, tent and food and spare clothes and things, and I've just got kind of essentials for the day in the big rucksack, which apparently is called slack packing in the US, where you kind of leave everything set up and just go out with day essentials in a big rucksack. Slack pack. Yeah, the only thing with using a trekking pole tent means that if you leave your tent, you've got to leave your trekking poles. So yeah, walking today without them, and I keep feeling like I've lost something, like I've forgotten something. Loads of these boardwalks early on, which looks like they might have been here for a while. Whee! Although maybe it's so wet, these could have been new last year. So there it is, top of Sokosti, and I'm celebrating in the true Finnish style with some licorice. It's official, I am a massive idiot. Just walking down the trail here and this tree's fallen across the original trail, but I thought I'd walk along here. Hopped up onto the trail, that's where my foot skidded off it, and that's the patch of blueberries where I landed, fortunately. That could have been an awful lot worse, and this is not the place for having accidents. Yeah, I keep reflecting on yesterday. So at home I've got a notebook, and in that notebook are a list of places that are really special to me for some reason. If you read Robert Macfarlane in his Wild Places book, he talks about this, how then they don't need to be the most beautiful or most touristy or scenic, you know, popular or well known. They just need to be special to you in some way. For example, there's one on the Portuguese coast from my previous walks in Portugal. It's just a little cove where the sea beats in, and yeah, it's the sort of place where I could spend, you know, hours and hours, as long as I've got there. And the sort of place you can have your ashes scattered, you know, it's kind of like that. So I've got this list, and the list has got 4 names on it at the moment, 4 places. But as of yesterday, I've got a new place to add to that list. So that that spot where I took a dip, and again, I don't know how much I'll include of that, because it's basically me naked in a crystal clear pool. Yeah, that spot, that the setting of it, with Sokosti behind it, you know, the huge pile of stone, really, just a monstrous scree, and then out in front the lake and the camp where I'd been the night before and last night. Just the whole setting, there was just something about it that felt amazing. And when I got into the water, it was so clear and so cold. I mean, it was as clear as the air. It was like looking, almost you couldn't tell there was water in there, but you could certainly feel it when you got in, because that water just kind of issued out from the earth, from under all that rock, and was freezing cold. But when I got out, I felt pure. I felt like I got the skin of a newborn baby. It was sensational, and I sat in the sunshine for a little bit, just getting dry. The sun shined at 9 degrees Celsius, but it was just amazing. And I think, you know, the legs were a bit tired, and I've been outside for a few days, and I was thinking I haven't heard a car engine for 2.5 days through. Well, now it's 3.5 days. But I'm literally where that spot was. I was 2.5 days walk from a flushing toilet or an electrical socket. You know, it's that kind of place. So yeah, it feels pretty special, and it's made it onto the list. So just a quick note on the route I'm taking. When I was researching this, I found 3 resources that had something similar. What I was looking for was the right number of days, starting in Ivalo and then Kiilopää, meaning that I could get the bus down from the airport. So there's a YouTube channel called The Headbangers Trail, a Finnish guy. That's really good. Well worth a watch if you're interested in doing this route. There's a blog called In the Woods Dear, something like that. Beautiful photography. She did a route similar to this a little bit later in the year, so it was all kind of autumn colours, and the pictures look great. And then the National Forest's website was a good resource to use for suggestions of where to go. Anyway, all of those resources that do this route or something similar do it in the opposite direction, and for 2 reasons I decided to do it clockwise rather than anti-clockwise, which is what's suggested. Firstly, I wanted to meet less people. I was coming to the wilderness. I was coming at probably the busiest time of the year, which is in August. Today is the 31st of August, and I didn't really know what busy meant. I now know that busy means absolutely deserted by everybody else's standards. The second reason was I wanted a shorter day for the last day, so have a long day or a long couple of days early on and then shorter one for the last day, meaning that I got longer at the Fell Centre when I get back to hopefully get some stuff washed and get a shower and everything before an early morning departure the day after. Three or 4k ago, I met a woman with a dog coming in the other direction, and we had the usual chat. She was Finnish, we spoke English, of course. We talked about our choice of route and that this route is not the popular one between the main huts, and I said that I knew that, and I also chosen to do it backwards just so I wasn't with so many people. And she said, as she looked back across my shoulder at the way she'd come and I was going, and said, well, it's probably a good thing that you're not a first timer walking that trail. And then she disappeared. Not quite, but I I said, oh really? And she didn't actually explain why, and it's given me the fear. I think it's one of two things. It's either going to get really swampy at some point, or it's that hill tomorrow. It's that uphill bit that I've been conscious of, so we'll see. So 17 and a bit kilometres in, and I'm just rolling into the laavu shelter at Salon Lampi. I think this is the first time I've been to a hut or shelter and there's been nobody else here, so nice. I plan on enjoying it and having a bit of reindeer soup. So while we've got 8 minutes to wait for reindeer soup to rehydrate, I thought I'd talk you through this. This is my kind of fix-it pack. If you're not interested in the gear stuff or don't want to hear me rabbiting on, fast forward to the next chapter. So this is a little Maxpedition pouch, which has got some bits and pieces in that are handy. It's just good to know where stuff is when I'm camping. So in no particular order, I've got some tie wraps there wrapped in an elastic band. I've got a lighter. That's my headphones. It's usually the adapter, but as there's no sockets or plugs around here, bit of a waste of time. That's a charging cord. I think the company's called Rolling Square. So you've got USB-C lightning on that end, and USB-A and USB-C on that end, so really handy, covers most bases. Got a little knife, slip joint, UK legal. That's the credit card with a load of gaffer tape wrapped around it, or gorilla tape. That's the always getting lost Allen key for adjusting poles, hiking pole clamps. That's a spare torch, so obviously I've got my head torch, that's just a spare one just in case. That's a bit of paracord, that's a folding spoon, that's a little Olight pen. And in here I've got a loop, which if I can't be bothered putting my glasses on, I tend to look after my glasses and keep them out of the way. So if I need to see stuff, I use that. I've also got one of these folded up with my map, so for map reading obviously. And then if I happen to sit on my glasses or lose them or whatever, I mean my eyesight's not that bad, but these are handy to have. You get 3 of these for €10, and these are kind of emergency glasses. So you look absolutely ridiculous with them on, but basically you just pinch those onto the bridge of your nose, and once you get them adjusted right, they're really good, and they're perfect for map reading or popping blisters or whatever it might be if you haven't got your glasses for some reason. And finally, you had a sneak peek, but there's a picture of my daughter just in case I need that. be the one. Got to be the one. So good morning, last day on the trail, and this was camp last night at Suomunruoktu, and once again you can see there's a hut, both the free and the bookable version. There's a cabin full of chopped logs, and across there's the composting toilet, and I was off down there in the trees there, in the Durston corner, because there was a X dome next to me, and yeah, sound of the river all night, and once again setting off in Crocs, because first thing to do is cross that river. Oh yeah, that's cold, that's cold. Refreshed after a swim, that was awesome. Quick thought for you on maps. As I said a few days ago, I'm using a Garmin watch with a route loaded onto it, and that's all well and good. I won't get lost. Well, I'll follow the route that I planned, so it's only as good as the planning, obviously. But what I'd say about carrying a paper map as well is that so this is only a 1 to 50,000th map of the area, and yet it allowed me, well actually last night when I was kind of having a look at today's route, I could see that the route continuing up the valley rather than following the main waymarked track back to Kiilopää looked more interesting, so I took it and ended up finding the swimming pool, which was great. I'd found a spring earlier on where the water was kind of coming up out of the ground into a little shallow pool, and it was just a beautiful valley to walk up. Now of course anywhere you walk here is pretty beautiful, but it just a bit more interesting trail. So the point is, by having a map, it allows you to not just follow the red line on the watch face. And one other thing, as somebody much smarter than me said, maps are invitation to future adventure. So this paper map can get stuck up on the wall, and I can work out where I'll go when I'm up here next time. And you can't do that with a GPX file. So I'm back down to the Fell Centre, and behind me is the arch that I came through 5 days ago. I realise now it's more than just an arch. It's actually some kind of portal between the world out here, which is the wilderness, and the where I've been living. You know, not a stick of litter. Everybody talks to everybody. You sit around the forest fire in the evening. And the other side of the portal is the world of, you know, motor cars and litter and day-to-day stuff. So I'm not sure I'm ready really to walk back through. Let's give it a try, see what happens. So there we go, a couple of kilos dropped. I guess that's all food, and the reason it's not more than that is because I've got all the plastic waste from that food still in the bag, so that'll make a difference. Feeling a little bit worse for wear this morning after a craft beer catch up last night, waking up for the last time and all that. Thanks for watching. I think this has been my favourite outdoor adventure ever. It wasn't as, you know, it wasn't as long or as far or as technically challenging, I suppose, as other trips, but just that feeling of wilderness, just being so far away from stuff. I've never had anything like that before. I've never been up to that part of the world where you can still get that sort of wilderness and remote, you know, just distance away from everyday stuff. And I think that's what's made it special. So again, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.